There we go. Oh, sorry. You guys had to. Yes, it's okay that it's recording. Okay. So block is on level 2 underneath my heart. That's what feels good to me. Underneath my head is on the tallest level. You can adjust as you see fit. Just try it out and then maybe move it around. With your legs, you can do whatever feels best. You can keep your knees bent, feet planted. You can extend your legs. And just explore. Maybe the soles of your feet are together and your knees out wide in a butterfly position. And just making sure that the block is just underneath where your bra strap would go. And then with your arms could be in a T to really open and broaden the chest. Maybe in the beginning of this shape, you explore with some movement, taking your arms overhead. I'm kind of doing like snow angel movements. Just a couple times. But if it's too much on your shoulders or your chest, you can always have your arms by your sides. And as you find your way into this first position and your way into this class, notice how you're coming into it. Depending on whatever you were doing before, conversations that were had. Tasks that were done. Notice what you're walking in with. And notice what that leftover feels like in your body, where it's being stored. And breathe into that space. Notice if by breathing into that space, it softens. Choosing to turn your attention to what we normally would push away. And then bending into your knees, feet are planted, and we'll roll to either side, wherever you have more space in your area, and come off of these blocks. And we'll take these blocks off to the side. And just lie flat on the mat for just a moment. Feel what flat feels like. Knees could be bent, they could be long. And then we'll roll to either side, making our way up onto hands and knees. And then just for transition, you'll press it back into a downward facing dog. And right away, you'll step your right foot outside of your right hand and come all the way down onto your left knee. You can grab these two blocks to help support you. Maybe bringing your elbows down onto the blocks. Maybe your hands are up on the blocks so that your hips can be heavy and your heart melt through your shoulders. And your knee, you can play with it. Your whole foot could be flat on the ground so that your knee is pointed to the sky, or you can allow the knee to wing out so that you're on the knife edge of your foot. I'll turn around so that you can see that. So your foot could be flat, knee is pointed to the sky, or you can just let the knee droop to the outside. You'll be on the knife edge of that foot, and your front of your left hip will tend to get a little heavier, which is what we're going for today. Lots of opening of the front body, progressively getting there. You might even explore taking your right hand to your right thigh, opening your heart up just for a few moments, and then maybe bringing the hand back down. Whatever feels good to you, stay in that part for as long as you want. Just make sure that your shoulders aren't creeping into your ears. You want to press the blocks into the ground or your elbows. And while not sitting into any of our ligaments, like into any of our bones, notice what it's like to be a little bit more active. Can you relax into this more active shape? And if you haven't yet, you can play around with coming down to your elbows and deepening the stretch in the front of your left hip. And then from here, coming up onto your hands, making the foot flat again, and then toe heel your foot all the way across the mat. So you come into your pigeon and allow the knee to come on down. And then you can work your way on all the way, like getting rid of the blocks and all the way down to your elbows. And I'll give us an option to go a little bit deeper in the last half of the shape. Just resting here for now. You can fold your palms and create a pillow with your hands. And if you'd like to take it a little bit further, you can come up onto your hands, bend your back knee, and grab hold of the inner ankle. If you want to take it even further than that, you can grab a block and take it underneath your right hand so that it aids in lifting your chest a little bit higher, and then bend into the back knee and grab hold of the inner ankle. Notice if you're falling to the right, you can always use that second block to place it underneath your right glute to help support. And then, so you don't have to like press that right leg into the ground. It's a nice supportive way of being in this shape where you would usually have to be quite active. And just watching for that right shoulder so it's not creeping into your ear. You're pushing, that's basically what needs to be active here, is pushing the block away with your right hand. Just keep checking in with that shoulder because it'll, while we're here for a few minutes, it'll want to creep up. And you can bring that heel in any amount. This is just basically my range of motion. And you'll slowly let the leg go. Remove any blocks off to the sides. And we'll make our way back into down dog, just for transition. If you want, you can walk it out a little bit, just get a little blood flow back into either of your legs that's feeling it. And then we'll take left foot outside of left hand. Those 2 blocks can come to the inside of your left foot if that was helpful last time. You don't need to use the blocks at all. They're just there as an option. So you might start on your hands. You can wing the left knee out. Maybe playing with pressing on the thigh and opening the heart up. Being mindful of your shoulders. Now that we've been here for some time, noticing how your body is responding. If it's able to let go of what happened before this class and just simply be in this class, be with the experience of this moment. Or if there's still some part of your mind or your body or your heart that's holding on. Maybe for the last half of the shape, if you haven't already, worked your way down to your elbows, just trying out what it's like to be a little bit deeper in this. And then we'll start to come up onto hands if you're not already, and heel toe your foot all the way across the mat and make your way down into your pigeon. And even here, if you find yourself like falling to the left, or if you're really tight and that hip is like really lifted, you can always place a block underneath that glute to aid you and support you. And for now, we'll be in our traditional regular pigeon. You can be on your elbows. You can spread your elbows wide and set your head down onto your forehead or on a block.
taking a moment to notice how your two sides are different. That's mostly revealed in these pigeon shapes. And you're more than welcome to stay right here, or maybe coming up onto your hands, bending the back knee and grabbing the inner ankle. That's layer one. Or you can place a block underneath your left hand to create a bigger back bend and then bend into the knee and grab it. But if you find that you have to lift your hips like me in order to get this range in my hips, then support yourself with a block underneath the glute. And then you can hang out here. So many options. Of course, being mindful of your shoulders. Breathing into the front of your right hip. This could be pretty intense for some of us, like myself. And slowly releasing the leg, releasing the blocks off to the sides, and making your way back into one more down dog just to release the legs. You need to walk it out. And then make your way down onto your knees. And we'll move into that Sphinx pose. So just a regular Sphinx pose to start. I like to really, just like we've been doing, support myself, support the back bend without trying very hard. So placing a block underneath my sternum always helps. So the bottom of the block is literally right at my sternum, right? Where the bra strap is. And maybe I don't feel it as much because I don't have much there that would be in the way, right? So again, that's why I give you the option of a pillow or two instead.
So this should relieve a lot of pressure from the shoulders. Like I can be free with my hands here. But of course, keeping, a little pressure in your elbows, because the idea is to keep the chest lifted. To go into like a mini back bend here. So you have the option here. You can bend into your left leg and grab the inner ankle with your left hand. Stay right here. If you want a little bit more opening in the front of your left hip, then you'll roll off to the right. Check out where your knee is. Place the block right where your knee goes onto the mat, and then put your leg right back on there. Now, you notice that it's not like the bone part of my knee. It's like right above my knee onto the meaty part where my thigh begins. And then coming back, I just noticed that actually made it a little too high. And then coming back so that your chest is on the other block. And then you can grab hold of that ankle. And you can always try this out and you're like, maybe a minute in, you're like, okay, that's enough. Just kick the block out. This is also, if you do have the block underneath your quad, it's also, hopefully, I mean, I know it is on mine, the corner of the block is making its way into my quadricep, which is a nice variation of trigger point therapy for a few moments. If anyone gets tight in the quads. This is all about opening our psoas, our hip flexors, and what's connected to that is the quads. So, if we're in a sitting position all day long, the quads can get shortened, at least at the top. So this could be good. And then once we release it, the blood will flow. And just watch that right shoulder, that it doesn't work its way into your ear. Noticing your glutes, if there's unnecessary engagement, tightening of the glutes. If your neck is getting restless, you can always bend your right elbow and take your palm onto your forehead. Just rest your head there. Any options to keep yourself supported.
And then you'll slowly release the ankle, roll onto your right side. So you can move that block out of the way. And then we'll move to the opposite side. So you'll roll onto your left side and place the block where your knee goes onto the mat. And taking your leg right back up on top of it. Chest block is supporting you. And you'll come back into your half sphinx, half bow. So bending into that knee, reaching back with your right hand to the right ankle. And you just feel your way into it. You might adjust the block underneath your chest. Maybe you're like, screw all of this, right? You can get rid of the block and you can come all the way down onto your head without using your shoulders here. And you're still getting a nice opening in the front of your right hip. Most important thing is for you to be comfortable, yet challenged. And again, you can always support your head with your left palm. Also, another option is it's ideal for you to hold on to the inside of your ankle so that your shoulders and external rotation, you're continuing to open up your right side chest. But if it's just too much, you can always turn it over and grab onto the outside of your ankle, which will lessen the angle of your right shoulder. And just taking inventory of your body, noticing where there are any tight areas, perhaps your jaw, your glutes. And then slowly releasing the ankle, turning onto your left side body to slide the block out from underneath your chest. And then you're going to turn all the way over onto your back. Come on down with your knees bent, feet flat onto the ground. And then lift your hips and take a block on level 1, if that feels okay, maybe level 2. Try it out. I would usually say level one, but we have been really opening the front of the hips today. So maybe level two feels easy and supportive. Just trying that for a couple minutes before we get into it. So we're just simply switching the orientation of the same opening. Gravity's flipped. And notice if since we've gotten onto this block, if the hips become heavier, letting go a little bit more. And then bring your left knee into your chest. Hold on to that leg, interlacing your palms in front of the knee and back of the knee, whatever feels best. And then straighten your right leg. You can let it be passive, so just letting your toes flop out. Another variation of this that you might want to explore is actually keeping the left foot down on the ground and sneaking your right ankle behind your left heel. It's a little bit more intense. If that feels good, you can hang out there. Maybe you're there for a little while and then go back into your straight leg. Just checking out what your body needs right now.
And then bending your right knee, foot down onto the ground, left foot comes down. And we'll simply switch sides. So bringing your right knee in, left leg goes long. Trying that out. Or once again, you can always keep the right foot down on the ground, sink your left ankle behind your right heel. It's like, oh, I like the way this feels, but it's just hard to hold it here. You can always lower the block underneath your bum and then try it. Or you can just go back to the straight leg. And then you'll bend into your left knee, left foot plants, right foot plants. And then you'll lift your hips and take the block out and off to the side. Feel what flat feels like for a few moments. And separate your feet as wide as your mat and knees come in together. And then simply send both of your knees over to the right. And we're just opening the quad of the left leg a little bit more. So this might be enough, or maybe you send your right ankle on top of your left thigh for a little bit more weight to bring the leg down.
As we've been here now for almost an hour, notice the quality of your thoughts. If there's thinking of the future, what's happening after this. If there's still thoughts of the past, what happened right before this. Or if you've been able to be with your experience of this class, of these shapes, of these sensations. Slide your right ankle off of your left thigh. Come on back to the center. And here in the center, reset, taking your feet as wide as your mat, knees come together. Feeling your sacrum heavy on the mat for just a moment before we shift it over to the opposite side. Knees just topple over to the left. Settling here for a few moments, and then assessing if you'd like to take left ankle on top of right thigh. And settling in wherever you choose. And then letting that left ankle slide off of your right thigh, bringing knees back to center, hanging out here for just a moment, feeling your sacrum flat or heavy on the mat. And then toe heel your feet all the way together. Bring your knees into your chest, giving yourself a big hug here, walking side to side. And then we're going to come all the way onto one side, making your way up into hands and knees for our last posture. Taking our two blocks, we've done this a few times before. We build a little log with your blocks. And the bottom of this block is going to go at your hip crease, where your hips bend. So making your way there. And just be here for the last few moments of class. And you can do this with pillows also. If the blocks are a little too hard for your pelvis,
And you can rest your head down onto the ground. You can even let your head meet the ground and have your arms come by your side body, letting your shoulders really go here. Melting into the blocks, letting your back open and relax and be at ease. And then sliding your elbows underneath your shoulders. And maybe your hands underneath your shoulders. Press into your hands and knees, come up to a tabletop. Moving these blocks out of the way and making your way into your Shavasana for Yoga Nidra. We'll take a 5-minute break for bathroom usage. And if you're going to sign off, just a little transition. So it's 6:01 now. We'll come back at 6:06. See you soon.